Good morning, Papsda. Today we're going to hear some stories from a little bit further afield, but from a place where the name Papsda is well known, is said often, and is painted on nearly every bathroom door. And that's a little cluster of villages in Cambodia where Papsda people have been loving and serving and learning since 2014. Just by way of recap, Cambodia is a country that has been through some significant wars, saw some terrible atrocities in the 1970s where a third of the population was killed. Every school was closed, every book was burnt. People were separated from their families, not to find them maybe for decades, if at all. And for a country to go through that, no matter how hard you work, it does take time to recover. 7 years ago, Papsda adopted a little village of 120 families in the Papsda province. Only 2 homes had toilets, but now 7 years later, every home in the village does. They have water tanks that provide clean water. There's chicken houses, there's sewing businesses, mechanics who can fix their own machines and other people's. And all thanks to individual Papsda people's generosity. 1 in 5 babies used to die before the age of 5 just from simple tummy bugs. But do you know, not one child has died since Papsda began working with ADRA in this little village. The preschool that we built in 2015 is impacting kids' lives daily, but more importantly, entire families are seeing new ways to learn. And in this whole scenario, people are being inspired that life can be different, that there is hope, that my family can be healthy and happy and well-fed, and that I can provide for them. Every time a Papsda group goes there, they say something like this: "Thank you for coming. You're our brothers and our sisters. Others have come and gone, but you keep coming back." It really does make a difference, Papsda. Over the last few years, the surrounding villages have seen what's happening with their poorest of poor neighbours and have asked Papsda to work alongside them too. And so more water tanks and toilets have gone in, part paid for by the homeowner and part paid for by someone here at Papsda. Last November, a Papsda team worked with local tradesmen to build a second preschool in a nearby village. Papsda volunteers Audrey and Adele continue to work with those teachers to provide encouragement and ideas that are shaping these teachers as they shape the next generation of independent thinkers. At least 10 preschools are benefiting from what Audrey and Adele do, and these ladies are certainly doing a fantastic job. Right now in Cambodia, it's the end of the dry season, and that means that the underground water table is at its lowest, so that's the perfect time to put in wells, because if you strike water now, you'll most likely have water year-round. I want you right now to meet Say Lo. She lives in a village that we've expanded into recently. It's very hot, around 37 or 38 degrees every day now. There's been no rain since October last year, and like many of her neighbours, Say Lo stores water in these big jars. For March and April, she had to buy every drop of water that was used in her house and garden. Our water restrictions in Auckland don't even register compared to the way that this family has to live. Early in May, Say Lo was gifted a well using the funds that someone from Papsda had given late last year. Say Lo's already working hard to grow vegetables and to raise chickens for her family to eat and to sell. But now with this well, she's able to run her little farming business year-round because she's got a steady water supply, and she won't have to buy it for drinking or washing, even in the dry season. Doson, the guy that we employ in Cambodia to be our Papsda link, told me that Say Lo was so excited when the water came bubbling out of the ground that she cried happy tears, and that she really wants to thank Papsda for believing in her and her family and supporting her with a well so that she can provide for her family. Provide for our families. Isn't that something that every parent wants to be able to do? The building of ponds is something that Papsda's been helping with for the last few years. Now, what might look like a great big muddy puddle to us can in fact mean financial independence for a family. The nearest big lake is 15 kilometres away, but somehow the fish manage to get here in the floodwater. So that means year-round fish for food, for sale, and water and irrigation of crops in the dry season. This is a new one under construction. It'll fill with fish and water when the rain and the flooding comes in the next few months. Some are bigger and shared by multiple families, and others are smaller and owned and used by just one family. The dirt that's dug out to make the hole in the ground is used to raise the level of the land in another place so that a garden or a house won't flood during the rainy season. That makes it a win-win situation: higher, more usable land in the wet season and water year-round. Soy and his family have had pond and well access for some time now, and you really can see the difference. They've been planting a variety of traditional Cambodian vegetables in the land behind their house, vegetables that you and I are not familiar with but are just regular food in Cambodia and go into the fry pan every day. Soy says, "I can earn from selling these from my home and at the village market. Many of the other villagers always come to buy my vegetables. I don't use chemical fertilizers, but I use biofertilizer," which basically means that he uses buffalo manure. "With this water, I can earn better for my family. Thank you, Papsda." Right now, ADRA is beginning to work with farmers to help them get their produce to markets further afield and to work together in co-ops so that not only are they working harder, but they're also working smarter and able to provide better for their families. Papsda, life is very different in Cambodia to what it's like here in New Zealand. People live in huts made of bamboo sticks or up on poles to keep away from the floodwater. They eat food that looks very different to ours. They have very little stuff. Why would anyone need to have more than a shirt to wear and a shirt to wash? But some things are the same. They want to love and to be loved, to be healthy and happy, and they want to be able to provide for their family. Our Cambodian friends are not looking for a hand out. They just need a hand up, something to give them a boost to a place where they can provide food and schooling and a healthy environment for their family. Papsda, we've had the privilege of being a part of this really cool story for several years now. Your generosity has impacted the lives of hundreds of Cambodians, and right now they need our support more than ever. There is no question that there's plenty of need right here in New Zealand, and if that's where your heart is, that's a good thing. We can't all do everything. But believe me, any gift that you give to a Cambodian family will be used to shape a future and to make a lifelong difference. If you're keen to give and help a family to help themselves, just with basic things like a toilet and fresh water and an income, here's a list of what you can do. You can go to the Papsda website for more information. You can give through the regular Papsda bank account. If you can support the cost of a whole thing, that's fantastic. If you can only put in $2 or $5, that's great. It all adds up to make a difference. Papsda, thank you for caring. Thank you for being a community that wants to make a difference, both here at home and for people that are very far away. Just know that your generosity over many years has made an incredible difference to the lives of so many people.